Hi everyone. After you have finished editing your project, there is one more step to go before you have a video to share with your friends and family. And that is to export or render your final project. Right now, everything that you've done to combine your source footage and to make enhancements such as adding music and titles is all stored within your project file. You still need to create a video file that will play everything seamlessly. And that is what we call the export process. In order to set up your export settings with confidence, you need to know three concepts: file format, codec, and bitrate. I'm going to explain this in this tutorial. Let's begin. Here we are in the Export Project tab of VSDC, and on this top ribbon here you can see all the different file formats that you can export your files in. Think of the file format as a container for you to store all the data that is in your video. VSDC has tried to make things a little bit easier for you by allowing you to select what kind of device that you are going to use to play back your video. So mostly you're going to select web because most of the time you will be posting to social media, although it doesn't preclude the possibility that you would want to store this file on a device and then play it directly from that device as well. The most common file format that you are going to encounter is MP4 because it's the most versatile and can be played back on a wide variety of devices as well as being uploaded to social media. You may see the MOV file format on the raw footage that you get from your camera or your handphone. And this is because the MOV format, which is Apple QuickTime format, is easier for editing since it stores more data than the MP4 format. The AVI and WMV formats stand for Audio Video Interlace and Windows Media Video respectively. They are both Microsoft formats, with WMV being a newer one than AVI, and so they'll play back on Windows Media Player, but they will not be as versatile as the MP4 format for uploading to other platforms. MKV stands for Matryoshka. It tends to have a smaller file size than MP4 for the same resolution of video, but at the same time it is less versatile with playback as well. FLV stands for Adobe Flash Video. It is used for embedding videos on the internet because it is able to compress these videos into a small size which is efficiently played on mobile devices, but it's also an outdated format that has been taken over by WebM, which works with HTML5 websites. For the most part, if you want to play back your videos on Windows Media Player and also to upload to social media, you will probably be exporting in MP4. We talked about the file format, which can be likened to the type of container that you use to store all the information in your video. Next, we will talk about the codec, which is the technology that is used to pack this container with information. In VSDC, the place where you will choose the codecs is in this profile drop-down, which is available to you if you choose YouTube or MP4 to export your videos. There are two codecs that VSDC allows you to use. The first is H.264, which also is called AVC or Advanced Video Coding. H.264 is the most common codec that is used for exporting videos in these days, and mainly because it's able to compress high-quality videos. There is also H.265 or HEVC, which stands for High Efficiency Video Coding. It is more efficient than H.264, meaning that for the same quality of video, it's able to compress the information into a smaller file size. But it is less common because it still requires quite a lot of computer processing power, so it will not be as quick to process as H.264. For most intents and purposes, it should suffice to export in H.264. The next concept you need to know is the bit rate. That is the amount of information that is transferred per second, and a higher bit rate means that you can support a higher quality video. You're going to encounter the bit rate if you are choosing any of the YouTube profiles, where you will choose the resolution that you want to export in first, and then when you go into Edit Profile, you are able to then either manually choose the bit rate, or there will be automatic defaults here as you select the options that pertain to your resolution. The higher the resolution, the higher the bit rate that you would need in order to transmit a high quality video, because each of your images in your frames contain a higher amount of data and information. Now that you know all of these things, let's go through a few sanity checks in order to make sure that your export is successful. First of all, you need to check that you don't have any scenes that you don't want in your project. So click on the Scenes tab here, and you can go to the Projects Explorer and you can see all your scenes. If you have an empty scene, it's going to affect your project because it will mean that you have a few seconds of black screen at wherever that scene is, whether it's in the beginning, the end, or the middle. In this case, I created a scene 1 for the purposes of doing a demo that I actually don't want. So I'm just going to select it, hit delete, and then there'll be this dialog box where I'm going to just confirm, and then that takes away scene 1. The next sanity check is the resolution and the aspect ratio of the export profile. The export profile tells you the resolution of the final video that you are going to share. So it is important that the resolution has to be lower than or equal to what you have filmed and edited in. Otherwise, if you are going to export in a higher resolution than what you have edited and filmed in, your picture will be stretched over a bigger canvas, and that would mean that it will look grainier. In this case, I have filmed in a vertical format with my handphone using a 1080 x 1920p vertical format. So in other words, I'm going to need to choose the IGTV profile, and I need to make sure it's a vertical profile selection so that my footage is going to cover the entire screen. Let's see what happens if I choose horizontal landscape. Then it is going to have a picture that is in landscape orientation, and it is not going to fill up the whole screen, so there will be black space to the left and the right of the video. You're going to notice that there's this drop down here which gives you the options of no correction or re-aspect image. This tells VSDC whether it should be adjusting for the aspect ratio that you have chosen in your profile, and it's only relevant when you're choosing a profile that's not the same as the aspect ratio that you have your project in. So if I choose here no correction, you're going to see that it distorts my picture because it's actually trying to fill up this whole frame, whereas if I ask it to re-aspect, it's going to make the necessary adjustments to make everything look proportional. The third check you want to make is the folder that you want to export the final video file to. By default, VSDC is going to want to export all your finished videos to the videos folder in your Windows. You can hit change name here, and then you can browse to a different location that you want to export to. And then you'll see that the destination file name is going to change in this output files box. If you want to permanently change your default folders, you can go to Options, Application Directories, and then here you can edit any of the default folders that you want different types of files to go to. Next, I'm going to talk about hardware acceleration. This is an increasingly popular feature, even in free and open source video editing software. In the case of VSDC, it's only available in the paid Pro version. You're going to find that, for example, when you select YouTube as a format for exporting, in this drop down here, you have multiple hardware acceleration options if you have VSDC Pro installed. The concept of hardware acceleration is that it uses both your graphics card as well as your computer processor to process the export, whereas without it, you will only use the computer processor alone. In that way, it makes the process of exporting your final video faster. It's especially useful for longer and more complex projects. To select an option here, you will want to know whether you have a dedicated graphics card, and if so, what is the model of your graphics card. So you can select NVIDIA, Intel, or AMD, depending on which brand your graphics card is. In my case, I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I would be selecting NVIDIA hardware acceleration. With all of this information, you should be able to set up your export settings. Before you do your final export, if you want one last sanity check, you can hit this play button here in order to view what your final project will look like when played back. You saw that playback was a little bit choppy. It is because of the proxy setting. So I've been setting up my proxy for export to be original quality, which is Full HD, and so I can choose a lower resolution. Let's say I'm going to pick 480p. It means that the picture is going to look grainier when I play it back, but that really doesn't matter because when I export it, it will still be in the original quality. But when I play back, it's going to run smoother. Let's see. I'm ready to pull the trigger and export. As you hit the Export Project button, you're going to be able to see in this screen which part of the video is being exported, so that's a good sanity check. Let's start. Now that the export is complete, I have an MP4 file with the same file name as my project, which is in the folder that I have specified. That was a playback using Windows Media Player, and I can upload this file to social media as well. With the information in these 4 tutorials, you should be able to create home videos and share them with friends and family. In future tutorials, I'm going to talk about other good-to-know features in VSDC, such as color correction and sprites, which are going to help you to enhance your projects more and to create longer and more complex projects. But in the meantime, have fun and see you next time.